And welcome to another episode of the Dynasty Trades HQ podcast, brought to you by the Dynasty Football Network and DynastyFootballFactory.com.
I'm not your host, _Madman.
Michael. My name is Michael Cipes. You can find me on Twitter at FFBlitz. And of course, that's Jeremy talking.
What up, guys?
And you can find him at DFF_Madman and Shane Manila.
Data don't score points. So at one point this week, I think I've literally been on the clock every waking moment since the NFL draft. Not just one draft.
Same. No, I mean, really, everybody started the rookie drafts as soon as the NFL draft was over. I'm in 36 leagues or something. Like 26 of them had their drafts like Monday right afterwards.
I've only had one draft. That's it.
Yeah, it's great when it's one league. You're like, yeah, no, that's cool. We're gonna draft, and as soon as the draft's done. But when like 15 leagues are doing it, and you're like, oh, holy. And then you're in a couple startups and then some mocks. Like there's picks where I don't even know where I'm picking, like in what league. I'm just like, I get the Gmail alert from MFL that I'm on the clock and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to pick someone for something.
I traded away most of my draft picks in a lot of the leagues, but I actually have 6 leagues starting their draft on Monday. So I have 6 of them all starting Monday.
They waited a while.
Yeah, except that they all waited. You know, they're still all at the same time. It's just 2 weeks later.
We've got there's news, but I don't really feel like getting into it. Here's the news. Every player that was injured last year is fine. Every player that underperformed is really looking good and has really impressed the coaches. That's just the news for the next couple months.
And that news was brought to you by the rotosurance.com.
Make sure you use the Dynasty Trades HQ all caps and the code. Get yourself a discount. You get 20% off. Now's the time to start using that with Dynasty startup drafts going on.
I mean, essentially the only news we even were talking about earlier was Martavis Bryant wanted to get reinstated, and Tyreek Hill had that weird text.
I don't give a shit about him. He's a wide receiver 3 at best, so bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
And then that stupid text with Tyreek Hill and everything.
Yeah, so I'm going to recreate the text message. Hello, Tyreek Hill. My name is Crystal. I am your fiance. You certainly never hurt our child. It was always me that did it. Crystal, your fiance. It was me, Crystal, your fiance, who hurt our child, not you, Tyreek Hill, the football player for the Kansas City Chiefs.
My God,
I am so sorry to do anything that would affect your career in the NFL. Please accept my apology.
Oh, shut up, God. And it's so funny, too. In one of my leagues, some guy keeps sending offers for Tyreek Hill to everybody, and everybody keeps turning him down.
I'll trade for him, but I don't feel happy about it.
All right, so we're going to have Graham Barfield on.
Yes.
Right after we hear from the Scouting Academy. And I'm not even going to lie. I'm super excited. I've listened to Graham going back to, when he was on the Fantasy Guru podcast with John Hansen. That's it, John Hansen.
Yes.
Hansen.
I've been a fan of Graham's for a lot of years. He's younger than me. So
good.
Yeah, and as you can tell, we're pretty excited about this show. We kind of blew through this opening really fast just so we could get Graham in here. Graham's actually waiting on the line right now, so why don't we hear from the Scouting Academy, and then we'll bring Graham in.
Scout NFL football like a pro. Invest in yourself and get a degree in player evaluation and assessment from the Scouting Academy. They've educated NFL GMs, personnel directors, and dozens of NFL scouts. Enroll today and you'll watch the same game tape NFL coaches watch. You'll learn to look past the metrics with position-by-position analysis. This is a time-tested curriculum, a chance to learn from the NFL execs and coaches. Sign up today and get a Dynasty Football Factory exclusive discount for a limited time only. Save $50 when you sign up at DynastyFootballFactory.com.
So, I mean, if the three of us had gone to the Scouting Academy, maybe we would have realized that Hakeem Butler was going to fall to the fourth round. And,
What a disaster. What a disaster.
Jesus. You know what's crazy, though, is I actually like his landing spot.
I know. Didn't you guys take him?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did?
Took him with our second of 3 picks in the first round in the DFB Invitational. I knew you were going to bring that up. I hope you didn't, but I knew you would.
It was on my mind. All right, but it's still a good landing spot. I'll say that.
Probably the best landing spot we could hope for, honestly.
But it's funny.
In the fourth, relative to the fourth round, absolutely.
But it's funny, too, that Shane's saying all this stuff and he doesn't even remember. And then for the people that are listening that are hearing a fourth voice in the room, we now have our guest in the room. Graham Barfield is here with us. And when you guys mentioned about us taking him, it was in the DFB Invitational League. We took him in the rookie draft prior to the rookie draft. It really happened.
Yep,
correct?
105. Yeah, we took A.J. Brown at 103, Hakeem Butler at 105, and then Noah Fant at 109.
Still a great haul. Still a great haul.
Dude, we got murdered, though. A.J. Brown landed with Tennessee. That looks so much better pre-draft.
It did.
I mean, everything looked better pre-draft.
So I just want to, real quick, I'm looking at Graham's rankings, which are on NFL.com.
Yep.
All right. So Graham is big time, in case you aren't aware, and we'll run down all his bona fides again. But he's got Hakeem Butler right now at 16. But he's the top of the mid-second rounders.
Right.
So that's not bad. He's right above Darrell Henderson, who's a backup running back.
Well, for now, he's a backup.
Well, what's funny is we've kind of gone all over the place already, but yes, welcome, Graham, to the show. We're very happy to have you here. And according to Shane, like he just said, you just published your Dynasty rankings now that the real NFL draft is finished. So how did you like it? How did you like the landing spots or not like the landing spots, or which ones are your favorite?
I think if anything, it was just a frustrating crop, right? I mean, I think we got some definition at the top with Harry and Jacobs, but then everything after that, I think is kind of open to interpretation. I personally have Sanders and Montgomery as my number 3 and number 4 dynasty players, but I've seen throughout the industry that's pretty open to kind of interpretation and just kind of how you feel about this class as a whole. But by and large, man, like I think we all wanted more out of this group because we feel like it was a deep group, but in general, it's just kind of shaped up to be a pretty sticky class overall, I think.
Who's your number 1, man? You said 2 and 3.
I have Harry at 1 and then Jacobs
same.
at 2. But again, like I've seen Harry as low as like 4 or 5 from some people that I respect, and I don't personally see it. I mean, the landing spot is perfect, super productive player at 19, 20 years old, and he's a fantastic athlete. He gets to play with Tom freaking Brady for at least 1 year. That means something to me.
That's like one of those rankings people put out there, and I don't know who you're talking about. Let me just say that right off the bat. So I'm not calling anyone out in particular, but if you're on Twitter, and if anyone saw my rankings for the running backs last week when Banana Peel came in at 2nd, that was kind of just making fun of some of the rankings that I saw on Twitter where guys had like Devin Singletary 1 and Raquel Armstead number 2, and then Josh Jacobs down at 10. I don't see how anyone could, outside of a super flex, I don't see how you rank Harry outside of 102.
You just basically summarize how crazy the rankings are this year and how they're all over the place. I don't think it's insane to have Devin Singletary as one of your top backs because this class is just so wide open at running back. But yeah, if you have Singletary at 1 and Reichwell, Armstead at 2 and Jacobs and Montgomery down at 10 and 11, probably not the best process, but Singletary is probably underrated at the same time.
It's funny. We talked about it for months leading up to the draft that all the pre-draft stuff is all over the place, and we thought things would settle down once the real NFL draft happened.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. Wrong. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Worse, didn't it?
So, Graham, in a lot of the leagues that I'm in, we've talked over time, I traded away most of my draft picks, so I didn't have to worry about this rookie class. But you mentioned the DFB. What did you do in the DFB with your guys' rookie picks? Or did you have any?
So for the startup draft, like for the listeners that don't know, we got to pick basically in the startup draft. We got to pick what rookie selections we wanted, and I knew that the first round picks would probably fly off the board faster than I would ever want to pay. So I just ended up loading up on like second and third round picks and kind of just taking a scattershot approach and just hoping that some of these. I really wanted Irv Smith and Jay Sternberger as like kind of the second tier tight end types, and ended up getting both of them, which I did not expect. But I wanted to kind of target the mid-range of this class just because I felt like it was so deep and I knew a few players would drop to me, which ended up being fairly optimal, except I drafted Kelvin Harmon and Emmanuel Hall. And Emmanuel Hall went undrafted and Kelvin Harmon essentially went undrafted. But I did get Sternberger and Smith. Yeah, man, I love my team, though. I think I took a pretty contrarian angle at it because a lot of people were trading like crazy really early, and I did basically zero trading. I just kind of bided my time, took my picks, and had a pretty strong approach to the way I wanted to attack the rookie draft this year. And Harmon and Hall didn't work out particularly well. Maybe one of them will pop, but we'll see.
But I like what? I'm looking at the draft that the rookie picks, and Sternberger at 302 is awesome because right now, after the draft, that's not happening. My rookie draft, Sternberger's gone by the 212 for sure.
Shout out to the man,
early second.
The man DFB himself. We were talking about Sternberger in like February, March, and he has Sternberger at like 2 or 3 pre-drafts, and that's what originally like put me onto him more. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the landing spot for Sternberger is outrageously good. I was not expecting.
You won with that, yeah.
Well, especially with and especially with that rookie draft, it was pre-draft, so some of those things you're taking shots at stuff. Shane, you were about to say something, yeah?
No, I'll just say I think Noah Fant's landing spot was really good. I love him in Denver. So we won.
We won. We drafted him around almost before Irv Smith, and I told you guys how much I like Irv Smith. So value-wise, and after the draft in Minnesota, Irv Smith to Minnesota, Graham drafted him at 206. I mean, not quite around after us, but that's a huge value. And when you're done, exploiting that, I want to know what Graham thinks about Irv Smith because he was kind of like the guy looking in from the outside, or he's talking about Hawkinson and Fant and Irv Smith. I told you I thought I liked him better than most people did as far as pro potential. So that's a hell of a value in the second round that he got.
Right. I'm with you like 100%. I think Hawkinson and Fant kind of got a lot of the pre-draft hype, and everyone was kind of forgetting about Irv Smith, and he ended up being a top 50 pick for a reason. Love the landing spot with Kirk Cousins. He's supported a top 8 or 9 tight end in PPR points per game in 4 straight seasons now. Kyle Rudolph is 29 in the final year of his deal. They could actually end up cutting him or trading him before June 1 and saving like $7 million against the cap. I will be surprised if they do that just because he's such a solid veteran. And I don't think
he's steady. Yeah. He's
consistent. And I don't think they'll run a rollout. Irv Smith is like an 80% snaps player as a rookie. But that being said, I love Irv Smith pre-draft, and the landing spot just backed it up even for me even more. I love all the tight ends in this class. I think they're really good spots for their individual talents too.
And a bunch of the like guys you can get in the 4th round, like Dawson Knox, guys like that. Like you can see a path to relevance. They're all in situations where if they're not the starter, they're ticketed to be the starter in the next couple of years, just like Irv Smith. And that was a great situation for him. They've pretty much that night told Rudolph, like, yeah, you're not here next year. We can't afford you. We're paying.
The cost, yeah.
They're paying between just Diggs, Thielen, and Cousins next year. I don't even want to look at it. It's ridiculous. Whatever they're paying, they just re-upped all those guys and obviously gave Cousins that massive contract last year.
Yeah, you mentioned Knox, like even another one like Caleb Wilson. I don't know how you guys feel about Caleb Wilson, but I mean, he goes to a depth chart in Jacksonville where it's just Jeff Swaim.
Wide open.
I know how I feel about Jeff Swaim. I don't know how I feel about Caleb Wilson. I know how I feel about Jeff Swaim. So that'll open it up for me.
And it's funny too. We talk about all these tight ends, but with your rookie rankings, who were you surprised about, like with running back or wide receiver, that people weren't really looking at in those pre-draft rookie drafts?
That's an interesting one. I have to think about that. In terms of like people weren't looking at pre-draft?
Yeah, because tight ends, everybody kept saying that this draft was a great draft for tight ends, but with the wide receivers and the running backs, some of the people were surprised with the landing spots, and all of a sudden they jumped up in their rankings.
Yeah, for what it's worth, with the running backs, there were no surprises there. I didn't expect more than 7 or 8 guys to go in the first 2 days. I think only 8 running backs went in the first 2 days, and they were all the names that we expected, except for Alex Madison. But outside of that, yeah, I guess Hardman has to be the obvious, like, where the hell did this come from type pick. But I wrote in my Dynasty ranks, like, I don't know how to feel about Hardman pre-draft. I didn't know how to feel about him pre-draft. I mean, he only caught 60 balls at Georgia, but I trust Andy Reid. I love Patrick Mahomes, and for that reason, and based on what we know about the Tyreek Hill situation, I think Hardman could go as high as 3 or 4 overall if Hill is suspended. But I kind of threw him in that like mishmash of like the mid-tier first rounders, just because I do think it's open to a little bit of personal preference. Like, if you're in a start one dynasty league and you have no quarterbacks, like I'm completely fine taking Kyler Murray over Mecole Hardman. But it's so this year's rookie class, I think, guys, is so team dependent and just roster dependent. It's one of those years where like everyone says you can go best player available, but that's always ridiculous. You always have to factor in team needs. And for me,
context matters.
This is a huge context matters class.
It's funny. Last week we did a rookie mock with a bunch of people, and that was the general consensus. Everybody kept saying, "Well, based on what we think this fake team might have needed, I would take this guy here." You know, because it is true. Whatever you have on your roster would end up helping with that. You mentioned Tyreek Hill, Shane. We were talking about that in the before you came on. We were talking about how there are people that are like sending trade offers in leagues and people that are drafting him in startups right now. Where do you think, if you were in a startup right now, would you think he would be draftable, or do you think he should even be on your team or not?
Well, he's on my team in the DFB league. And
he is.
Honest,
okay.
This is the. I took him in February when we did the startup. I took him at like I think he was the 110 or 111 or something like that. This was the first league I ever drafted Tyreek Hill in Dynasty.
Wow.
Right now, I have no idea how to value him in Dynasty. I've already started firing up some early best ball drafts, and I've seen him slide like into the 8th, 9th, 10th, sometimes 11th round. These 12
That's what I
leagues.
saw,
Yeah.
Again, I have no magic 8 ball. I have no idea what the NFL is going to decide. I don't know what the Chiefs are going to decide. The longer this thing goes, the more likely it is that he's not off the team, because they just cut Kareem Hunt right off the bat. Tyreek Hill obviously has a bigger impact on the field than Kareem Hunt does, a running back. But that being said, I have no idea. I'm literally doing the shrug emoji. I have no idea. I have no idea.
We don't know.
Value
And it's a huge hit. Yeah.
Yeah, because Shane's in a startup right now, and he said he was drafted. What'd you say, the 11th round today?
Yeah, it was the 11th round. And it's just so funny when, the first time you actually see a player with that skill set go at that round, you're like, wow. But then you kind of remember, like, oh, yeah, there is this non-zero chance that he ends up in prison. So, yeah, that kind of makes sense that he's dropping that far. Yeah. But then, you know what? Look, man, if it's that risk reward in the 10th round, I mean, you got to make that pick all day, because even in best ball, if he does play the whole season, then you've got a wide receiver 1, a top 5 wide receiver for, usually what you're paying for like a wide receiver 3 or 4 or a running back 3 or 4 at that point.
Yeah, I got him in the 9th round in a best ball, a 12-team best ball play draft, and he was just hanging out there. I'm like, you know what? He's so much better than anything else. Like, I'm just going to – I could get another player that I need, but – I'm going to take a shot because that can make the difference between me winning and losing in this thing. So
I think it's different. I think it's different when you talk about a best ball as opposed to a dynasty league. Where
for sure. There's less risk for sure.
Sure.
Way less risk.
Yeah, there's really no risk almost with best ball.
I have him on a lot of teams, and I hope it works out, in his favor for my teams. But, at the same time, yeah, I don't want to get into, because we've talked about this before, I don't want to get into the politics of it. Hopefully he didn't do anything wrong. But yeah, for my fantasy teams, I have him in so many places. I hope that he didn't do it. I hope it works out like that, because I'm just going to get 0 points from that guy in a lot of places. I'm probably not going to move him. I'm just going to wait and see what happens.
Hey, Graham, so real quick, if you looked at the show sheet, I don't think you noticed that I actually renamed the yards created metric to yards created medic.
I noticed that you were changing it while we were talking right now.
Did you forget the I?
I forgot the R.
I highlighted it and everything.
And that was the next thing.
Yards created medic. But just in case any of our listeners are residing underneath rocks, can you explain a little bit about the yards created metric?
Sure. I mean, people say living under rocks, but I do think we live in this like Twitter bubble. So many people don't know or will never care about yards created, because it really is just such a small thing on Twitter. But yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's now in its fourth year. It's my charting process basically that tries to not necessarily separate, but give context to offensive line and running back play. Offensive lines and running backs will never be fully separated, but this process that I started basically just charts each play and divvies up how many yards the offensive line is credited for blocking and how many yards the running back has created on its own. And it's taken its different forms now where I chart missed tackles, I'll chart personnel packages and defensive fronts and fun stuff like that, all receiving plays. But yeah, it's kind of morphed into this fun, all-encompassing thing. And unfortunately for this year's class, there's only a handful of running backs that are really relevant to talk about. Unfortunately, I missed out on the 2017 and 2018 classes where pretty much there was 15 or 16 really relevant players to discuss.
Wondered as far as yards created, what he had what were his top running backs in this class? Because I didn't look at that. Besides the top couple guys you mentioned, like Devin Singletary, Darrell Henderson, how do some of those guys shake out in this measure?
Yeah, Devin Singletary, for a back who's 5'7" and 200 pounds, I was really, really surprised to see how powerful he was on a per play basis. In terms of missed tackles forced by power alone, he ranked third in the class behind Josh Jacobs and David Montgomery. I mean, he's just a tiny little dude. My biggest problem with Singletary, though, coming out is he obviously whacked non-Power 5 competition.
Yeah,
and
right.
He's basically a non-athlete. But again, like we talked about it a little bit at the top of the show. I'm kind of with you. I actually really like the Buffalo landing spot. I mean, in theory, LaShawn McCoy and Frank Gore are for sure off the roster. In 2020, TJ Yeldon might just be a one-year type deal. Devin Singletary is really the only player they've invested in that backfield. And even though he's a weird archetype player, it's still opportunity-wise, I still think it's a really good fit. And that's why I have him higher than Damian Harris in my ranks. I mean, I could make an argument for him, in the top 5 or top 6 running backs for sure.
Oh, good.
So Devin Singletary, does he, just with the size and the frame only, really, he kind of reminds me of, I can't remember the guy's name now, Maurice Jones-Drew.
Okay.
But was Jones-Drew more athletic I don't remember. It's been so long.
MJD, I don't recall. I think Maurice Jones-Drew had a poor combine, but I mean, MJD bucked so many trends in terms of what a running back really looks like. Because I don't want to name drop, but I have met MJD. He's not 5'7". He's 5'5". He's like a little bowling ball. He's just a little bowling ball out there. It's an interesting comp. I think Singletary is significantly slower and less explosive than MJD. But from just from an opportunity perspective, I'm with you guys that I did really like the landing spot.
And agility and balance and vision are things that are really hard to quantify in some of the metrics, but contact balance, all those sorts of things. Yeah, Singletary is definitely not the fastest guy in this class for sure.
I'll also say too, I mean, he playing at FAU, he was behind the worst offensive line in this class.
It was awful, yeah.
In terms of yards blocked per attempt, they were literally the stone worst, dead last in this class. That being said, though, I mean, when you're playing, non-Power 5 schools and you come out and test as a below 10th percentile athlete,
It's horrible, yeah.
it definitely adds some questions to your profile. So I pulled up MJD real quick on Player Profiler. He's 5'7", 200, so basically the same
on paper,
height, but he ran a 4.39. Devin Singletary did not even come close.
Yeah, he's slow.
Devin Singletary's still running his 40. Right now.
Yeah, he's still doing it.
I bet you MJD, well, maybe not now. MJD, and at the end of his career, could probably run faster than Devin Singletary now.
Maybe, yeah.
It's still always funny to me to hear people say FAU, because I went to FAU in 1986. Yeah, but we didn't have football. We had 2 dorms. There was only a couple buildings. But it's just so funny now to see players get drafted in the NFL from FAU. But when you talk about these running backs, one thing that people have mentioned where they say, okay, this year you'll get these guys, but next year's class is going to come in and obliterate all the people that are around here right now. With your yards created metric, have you already looked at the kids from next year? And no, you haven't. Oh, okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, you have.
No, continue your question. I'm so sorry.
I was just going to ask. I was just going to say, with your metric and everything, do you show that there's going to be enough running backs in next year's class that are going to come in and wipe people out? Because that's what a lot of people are saying about this class. Skip over it. Yeah, when you say that he's the only guy in Buffalo, that's fine. But in next year, Buffalo may draft somebody else with their first pick.
That's fair. I will say to the people that always think the next year's class is better,
exactly,
they always think that.
Well, and that's true, and that's why that's why I was asking.
Yeah, next year's class is always better. No, unfortunately, I wish I had a lot more time to chart more running backs than I do, but yeah, I can't. I just don't have the time to unfortunately go, a year and a half in advance and chart sophomores and juniors now, unfortunately. But that being said, this is a very, very weak class, and if you were ever going to get away with wait until next year, this is definitely the year to say it for these running backs.
Wait until next year.
Yeah, and we've had a couple guests on say stuff like that. They say, if you get them now, that's fine, but next year's class is going to wipe them out. So that's why I was just wondering if maybe your creative metric would say something.
Yeah, next year's class is going to be like the Thanos finger snap. It's literally going to wipe out half the running backs in the league.
It's going to be great. It's
going to be devastating.
I don't know if it's going to be any deeper. We'll see. I mean, I have those players in Debbie, and I agree. I think it's a stronger class, certainly at the top. But like Graham just said, every class is good, and there's great players coming out of this. There are so many underrated wide receivers, I think, in this, like Paris Campbell and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, that weren't ranked real high. I mean, they kind of are now. We see in the rookie drafts they're getting drafted in the first round, but they still aren't, I think, heralded like they should be based on what they can bring to a team. Their landing spots were good. It's funny. I mean, I think the wide receivers in this class are good.
I love Paris Campbell.
Yeah.
It blows my mind that people are like, look, okay, he has a 4.6 average depth of target from Ohio State. That's whatever. I mean, that's fine. That's the player he was used as. He ran 86% of his routes from the slot. But we know the Colts are going to shoehorn that type of role into their offense already. We've seen Paris Campbell explode in a low A dot role at Ohio State. Now he goes to a team that has T.Y. Hilton, a lid lifter, Devin Funchess. Whatever you think about Devin Funchess, I think he's a solid number 2 or 3 receiver. Yeah. They've got 2 fantastic tight ends, and now they've got Paris Campbell who can stretch the field horizontally underneath, and he gets to play with Andrew Luck. I mean, I think people they overthink like roles and player talent, and
I agree.
Don't necessarily just look back and say, okay, a receiver was just drafted in the 2nd round. He gets to go play with Andrew Luck. Do I want that player on my fantasy team?
Yeah. He's super fast. He has enormous hands, and what's not to like? But yeah, I don't know if I want to draft that guy. There's so many things pointing to him, and yeah, I get it.
And what's funny is for the last, I don't know, entire lifetime, we've been talking up guys like Chester Rogers and Dante Moncrief.
Yeah, Moncrief.
Well, not us. I'm just saying in general. But every year when you do a sleepers article or read a sleepers article, there's some anonymous Colts receiver, and it starts off with, well, he's not that talented, but he's tied to Andrew Luck. Yeah, now we have a guy that's actually talented, tied to Andrew Luck.
Tied to Andrew, yeah. Some of your favorite players in this class, Graham. Personally, like, who do you like? Who would you try to draft? Who do you think's underrated? Like, who are some of your guys? Graham's guys? Let's go with that.
I'll be honest. There's very few in this class. I loved Darrell Henderson coming out, but now I kind of wrote in my dynasty ranks that like I think the Rams are legitimately concerned about Todd Gurley's knee, but for this season, I really have no idea what type of role Darrell Henderson's going to have. There's just so few guys that you can like put your like hang your hat on late.
Yeah, exactly. Put it in. Yeah.
I will say I do like, just from an opportunity perspective, I do like Reichwell Armstead's landing spot. I mean, 6th-round picks just are very, very rarely fantasy relevant, but he has wide open opportunity in that backfield. And we know Leonard Fournette's ankles and knee and feet are less than 100% dating back to his days at LSU. I wanted to get you guys all your takes on Marquise Brown, because that's someone I've had no idea how to value, just in my own personal leagues and in best ball for this season.
I'll let these guys go. I didn't have a lot of good things to say based on his. He's a talented player. I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, guys.
I think I'm confused as the rest of the Dynasty community. Obviously, he's very talented. He's very small, which is a little frightening because he's not just a deep threat. He can actually do other things on the field, which kind of scares me more than if he were just a deep threat, because I can see him trying to take a slant over the middle and getting absolutely annihilated. And I don't, I've expressed my fear before with Baltimore's coaching staff but pre-draft, about how much they were going to let Lamar Jackson throw. Although now I kind of think they're going to let him throw a lot, that they grabbed him and Boykin. But I'll grab him after Deebo Samuel, wherever that tier slides in. He'll slide in after Deebo Samuel for me, just because his upside is obviously greater, but he feels like a lot of 2 for 89 and a touchdown weeks, and then 1 for 6-yard weeks.
Yeah, I kind of came to the same conclusion about the Ravens too, and what their philosophy is going to look like. I mean, they ran on 64% of their plays last year. There's no way that they can keep that up over a 16-game NFL schedule. I mean, game scripts just are not going to allow that. But that being said, I mean, I thought Marquise Brown was the best route runner in the class, and now I mean, I originally hated the landing spot, and now that I've thought about it a little bit more, there's just so few. There's just so little competition for targets on that team. I think there's a chance we might get to see Brown as like a wide receiver 3 in the next couple of years for fantasy, but by and large, I mean, it's just, you don't ever want the number 1 receiver on an extreme run heavy team to that extent.
Right.
Yeah, and
go ahead, Shane. Sorry.
They almost can't run as much as they did last year because Lamar Jackson will die. And then also, I want to say San Diego, but they don't play in San Diego. Los Angeles, it was in the playoffs.
I do that all
right?
the time.
That's funny.
That all the time. I still screw up San Diego.
Every time I see LAC,
I can't, because they never have the same team. It's just so I mean, really, are there fans in LA because they can't decide what's happening in California?
I can tell you there are no Charger fans in LA, and it sucks because they're really freaking good. I mean,
that
really,
team
really
is
good.
great.
Is that where you are, Graham? Are you in LA?
Yeah, I am.
Look at the hat. He's basically a Clayton Kershaw impersonator. Right?
I was thinking the same thing.
It's funny though, because the Rams have done an amazing job with their marketing, and they've just gone even more gangbusters that they just went to the Super Bowl. But the Chargers have literally zero marketing throughout LA.
And two good teams in that market. It's just I don't understand how that works. I don't.
I'm already convinced that when they build the Hollywood complex out here, where they're going to do basically what the Jets and Giants do, I'm going to be. People are just going to be surprised to see the Chargers are there. Like, oh, the Rams are playing, and next week the Chargers are playing the Raiders. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. They definitely had, at least, I don't know. Yeah, they started in LA, but that was like what, 1960 something. Like, everyone's dead from back then. Like, no one's waited the last 50 years and we're like, hey, the Chargers are finally back.
Have you ever gone?
The Raiders should have moved to LA, and the Chargers, if they wanted to move, should have moved to Vegas. Dean Spanos should have waited and moved that team to Vegas.
That's what I think too. I don't and I'm not in California, but it's just so weird to look at how California sports teams work. I mean, I've been there for business a couple times, and Giants, where the Giants play, and it was really cool. I mean, to see that. But then I'm thinking, how do they sustain all these teams? And then there's always teams moving in and out. And I'm a Cleveland fan. Like, those teams aren't going anywhere. Like,
Cleveland teams don't.
Cleveland has these teams.
Nobody wants them. They're like, no, you keep them.
Yeah, but the fans do, which is the important part. Which is what the state. It's all viable because you sell out the games.
So South Florida's the same way. With the Dolphins are never going anywhere, but we always have empty seats in those stadiums half the time.
Not to go too far off the beaten path here, but whatever.
Too late.
Just read about the whole the backstory of how the Chargers ended up in LA, because they kind of got screwed in the whole deal. Which, whatever, good. He's a billionaire. Screw that guy. And they screwed their fans. But it basically didn't work out the way that he thought it was going to.
Graham, have you ever gone to that soccer stadium where they play?
I've driven past it.
Oh.
It's smaller than you think.
Yeah, I went to a game there. It is small. It's very small. I was surprised.
It looks small on TV, but when you drive past it off the 405, like it's even smaller than you think.
They play in a soccer stadium?
Yeah, they play. Yeah, they play in a soccer stadium. Yeah, we went there.
They've had to.
It's very small compared to other football games. So actually, one of the other things we do on here a lot, obviously, is it's a trade show. So we talk about trades. And
let's get some takes.
I was going to say,
let's get Graham's takes on some trades.
That's what I was going to say.
Trades?
Usually, Graham, there's trades that involve Shane. So
actually, you know what? I want to ask all of you one, and this is off kilter. We don't have to keep this in the show. It's not on the sheet, but
it's fine.
I just got a trade sent to me that I couldn't refuse, and it was basically, and it's in a contracts league. So the context is I save money, like let's say 80 million to 110 million. I save money, and I get Saquon Barkley. Well, I shouldn't have told you guys that, but I get Saquon Barkley, and I trade away Todd Gurley and Keenan Allen, who I love. But I saved, like I said, 80 million versus 110, 115. So it's a huge contract sort of dollars deal. But I also get the best, the 101, the best running back in the league, kind of on paper, for Gurley and Keenan Allen. And you guys, I asked you, and you both said yes. And most people
I would
said
do it.
yes. And I didn't think I wanted to, because it's normally not the kind of deal that I make. But I did do it, and I felt fine with it. Giving away those 2 for 1, but I'd like to know what Graham thinks on that.
I would do that too, just because I am very uncomfortable about Todd Gurley's knee. Even if he comes back this year and he's an RB1 and he gets 380 touches and smashes again and scores like 20 touchdowns, the next couple years, like we're talking about a guy who over the last 4 years had over 1,000 touches and played over 80% of Rams snaps, and he had an ACL tear in college. I'm very, very concerned about Gurley. I really, really hope he comes back this year and we get one more year of like prime Gurley. But for the next 2020, 2021 for Dynasty, I'm extremely, extremely concerned. And getting out from underneath Gurley and getting Barkley on a rookie, I would assume it's a rookie wage scale, those contracts.
Yeah, I actually got Barkley on the cost is flat, but I mean 4 years for Barkley. I think Gurley's 5 years. So 4 years Barkley at 80 million, 5 years Gurley wasn't much. It was close. And then Keenan Allen plus Gurley was like 110, 115. I forget exactly, the cost. So I was doing it to kind of cost save. But it's funny you said that. The thing is, Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley both outscored Gurley just barely. It kind of tied real close in PPR points last year. But McCaffrey did that on so many, so many less rushing touchdowns. I mean, Gurley had like 150,000 rushing touchdowns. It took him that many to approximate what Barkley and McCaffrey had in PPR. It's crazy to think about that. I mean,
Gurley also had a few. Yeah, Gurley had a few missed games in there too. If you go off the total numbers, but I like that deal a lot actually.
Here's an interesting stat about Henderson. Did you know that he led draft eligible running backs in yards created per attempt?
Yes. I actually saw it. I wondered why you didn't bring that up earlier. That's a perfect segue.
That's actually Graham's stat, in case anyone wasn't aware. I'm not smart enough to look anything like or create or.
I was going to say you can look stuff up easily.
You're still smart. Stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with Graham though. The fact that I didn't even realize that the Rams traded up for Henderson, that makes me even more concerned, because typically that's a sign of success in the NFL when you're trading up for players early in the draft. It doesn't matter in the end. Gurley's not right. I think. Look, he didn't have surgery. I wanted it to come out immediately after the Super Bowl, like, he's going to get a knee scope. And I would have been like, that's great, fine, whatever. Inject stem cells into there, make it right, do platelet enrichment therapy, whatever. But the fact that they're just like, no, this is just what he is now, like basically. Yeah. And then they trade up to draft. It was a good running back, Henderson. I mean, on an even field, he's not going to take his job, but it's probably not an even field anymore.
Right. From a common sense perspective, just think, like, listen to this. The Rams, the Los Angeles Rams, in the middle of a Super Bowl run, decided they wanted to play C.J. Anderson. Right. Yeah, he was at least, I mean, C.J. Anderson's a good little player, but he was at least 15 pounds overweight. They wanted to play an overweight C.J. Anderson over Todd Gurley. Yeah. And people think Todd Gurley is just completely fine. I mean, that literally blew my mind in the playoffs last year. And now CBS, I think CBS Sports had the report that his knee is potentially arthritic, and if you have an arthritic knee, there's no surgery that solves that. I mean, it's just pain management. It's all pain management, just basically hoping that your knee doesn't inflame up mid-game. I mean,
Yeah,
I hope he's okay.
Knee, and I don't have a 2,000-yard season in my history.
Don't.
Well, you know what he needs? He needs to get with Phil Mickelson, because Phil Mickelson has that arthritis commercial, and he seems to be doing fine by the end of it.
Oh my
So-
gosh. So Shane, what was your FFPC league trade that you wanted to discuss?
Oh my God.
I'm not going to yell because we have a very important guest tonight. We're not usually.
Graham can
very
yell if he
important
wants
guest,
to.
but, also,
Let Graham say it.
Let Graham
say
yell, trade alert.
Really loud.
Trade alert!
that's
Ooh,
not bad.
I like his better than yours. So go ahead.
So do
what's
I.
the
We
trade?
got to save that one.
Let's
awesome.
not get crazy. All right, Mike.
Shane, you're fired.
That's like my one thing. Thanks, Graham.
You're done now. That was so good.
Appreciate it. I serve no other purpose on this show. Great hashtags. That's my other thing. That's my only thing now.
You said
I
it.
wish the video was available to everybody because Graham was cracking up. That was hilarious. So what's the trade, Shane?
So we got FFPC, and just for, again, reminder for folks, it's a 20-man roster, but in reality, it's 18 players because you have to carry a kicker and a
Savers,
defense at all times. Yeah.
Stupid.
And it's, tight end premium, 1.5, PPR, blah, 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 blah. So on one side of the trade, we have Tony Miller, Tony Miller.
Antonio Miller.
Oh, I gotcha.
Tony
You're
Miller.
confusing Jeremy.
I'm sorry, Anthony.
I'm like, are we talking about baseball or hockey? Wait.
Oh, wait, and I said Antonio. Yeah, it's Anthony Miller.
It's Anthony Miller, the 2019 105. Oh, and this is Superflex. I'm sorry. As usual, I set the trade up horribly. It's a Superflex league. So on one side, we have Anthony Miller, the 105, the 112, the 205, the 2020 first, and a 2020 second round rookie pick.
That's a lot.
Yeah. For Michael Thomas, Kareem Hunt, and then a sixth and a seventh round 2019, just because I don't know why.
I love that. As soon as you said Michael Thomas and Kareem Hunt, I was just like, yeah, I'm taking this.
I was going to say,
I
me
didn't
too.
think about it any further. I'm just like, those are the guys
I want the Michael Thomas Kareem Hunt side as well. Graham, what do you think?
That's a haul to give up in terms of picks, but I'm all for trading established players for picks. I mean, I'm always all for that, unless it's like the 101, 102. Yeah, I'm always all for it. So I love that deal for sure.
So, yeah, I actually won this trade for once. Might be the first time that three people agreed with my trade on our show, which is pretty impressive. So just so you know, I brought out my roster too. With this trade, my T.Y. Hilton doesn't even get to start anymore. He's now a bench player.
That's amazing. He's
Yeah.
your flex player. Good.
Yeah, he doesn't even get that. Like, it's super flex. I got Wentz, I got Rosen, Breeze. The wide receivers are Mike Evans, now Michael Thomas. It's this team's stacked. Except for injury, this team better freaking win. And then also FFPC rules are a little different. It's like play all, best ball in the playoffs. Or not best ball, but it's it's a play all in the playoffs. That's what it's called. Yeah, play all.
It's tough. It's a tougher league, I think, than NFL.
So we also do trash trade alerts, which is my hashtag. So don't try to hashtag anything.
So there you go.
Trash Dynasty trade.
So you have a second thing then.
I've already stolen your bit, and I'm definitely going to come in and steal your hashtag. Now. Just ruin the whole thing for you guys.
You need to, man.
I will fly out to LA and I will throw things at Clayton Kershaw, and people will not understand what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just yelling at them. Trade
This guy
alert,
from
it's
Philly.
bitch. So, friend of the show, maybe, I don't know, or a guy that tagged us in the trade alert at least, Ryan Humphrey. He woke up to this at a 10-team Superflex league. Give Stafford, Mack, I'm going to assume that's Marlon Mack, and Cortland Sutton, and he would get back Rex Burkhead, Cordeller Jesus Christ, I can't talk.
Cordarrelle
Patterson.
Patterson.
Edwards.
That's
Corduroy.
And a 2022nd.
That is the weirdest. I don't see how they could come up with, because I see it says asked him for his rationale. How could there be any rationale for that trade?
Well, I'm
That
giving
just
you
sound-
all my garbage for some cool stuff on your team.
Yeah, I was about to say that just sounds like the one guy or girl in your league that just says, "Hey, I'll trade you these 5 shit players for your 1 or 2 good players,"
Right.
It's
and
so
like they think
weird.
that's a good trade.
That's awful.
It's very weird that somebody would think that somebody would fall for that or even decide to do
Got
that.
offers
You know?
like that too. From
No,
randoms,
I
and
know
like,
that, but I'm saying it happens all the time. But it's just weird. Like there's a guy in one of my leagues who does that all the time, and then we always say, "I would love to be like a fly in the room, or at least in his head, to hear when he's like writing the trade offer, like, yeah, this is a good offer," and sending like, what is he thinking when he
My
sends an offer
favorite
like
part
that?
is to ask them, "Well, wait, what are you thinking here?" And they try to sell it to you, and there's definitely no like way to sell that. But like a used car salesman, they go into their thing and try to make that make sense.
So I send some troll offers out sometimes.
Yeah, I know,
especially yeah. And so this is what's running through my head as I do it. Like, holy f- if this guy accepts this trade, I'm going straight to GroupMe and Twitter and telling everyone I just made this trade.
Well, yeah, but that trade's not going to get accepted. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, that is that a lot of time is what somebody's excuse is. Oh, I was just trying to open up a dialogue or something. You know.
Well, I mean, because that's easier and that's more polite to say than, look, there's a lot of stupid people in the world, and I just wanted to see if you're one of them.
And
You're not one of them.
And I'm not saying people are stupid. I mean, some people just don't know.
No.
You know?
There's a
we
lot.
never
of
say
stu-
that on this show. But
What?
hey, Graham, what is your? Do you have strategies, Graham, that you or things that kind of like a through line maybe that you try to hold on to or abide when you're making trades in your dynasty leagues? Like, are there things that you do that you might advise people? And don't worry about it. Like, we always give away things on this show, but like, what do you like to look at when you approach dynasty trades? What would you do to make a trade? How do you look at it?
A lot of the times I'm very, very aggressive with my rookie picks. I want to trade. I want to try and take advantage of teams that overvalue future picks. And I've been doing this basically the whole time I've been playing Dynasty. And, you know, I think a lot of the times I am just always trying to be I never want to be in like that productive struggle. You know what I mean? I never want to be in an in-between. I either want to be completely tanking and losing everything and trying to my best to, you know, have a 2 or 3 year plan.
Not middling, not hanging in the middle. Yeah.
Right. Or I want to be in the top 5 of my league every single year. And most of the time I find that I can find 1 or 2 league mates that do overvalue those rookie picks, and I can typically try to find some veterans I'm buying low on. My favorite move, I think, is I love trading my first or second round picks for the upcoming year for late stage veteran receivers like that I just need help on. A couple years ago when Larry Fitz was still balling out, I traded I think it was like an early second round pick.
Dude, that was his year. That was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Still playing.
Exactly. I mean, people always try to bury the veteran guys. I think I traded Larry Fitzgerald for like a second or third round pick in a contract league actually, and helped me win the league because that was 2 years ago. That was the year he finished the receiver 7. I just think people overvalue rookie picks and undervalue veteran receivers nearing the end of their career, and a lot of the times, some of those veteran receivers turn out to be like a banana in a tailpipe, like Demaryius Thomas last year. But I do think by and large, a lot of the times veteran receivers do get undervalued in pretty much every dynasty league, no matter what league you're playing in.
You know, I checked the DFB Invitational to see when we play each other, and apparently the schedule hasn't been set yet. If you click on the button, it says there's no schedule set for this league.
I am shocked. I am shocked that Scott Barrett has not been on top of this.
Professional football fantasy football person, Scott Barrett.
This is so awesome.
Scott,
We
man,
have
he's
to
a
let
good
him know.
friend of the show. we bust his chops, man. He as a commissioner, yeah, we come on, Scott, let's get on this.
It's funny, Graham, because Scott was on here and he was talking about he wants this league to last like 20 years and everything. So
it can't even last 20 minutes because he can't figure out how to tell everyone the waivers. Everyone needs to set their waiver. Scott's literally like a brother to me. I've known this.
Yeah,
guy
we
for
love
so
that guy. Too.
yeah, no, it's awesome. But I was serious. I was checking to see when we play each other because I would like to talk to you when we do play each other in the season. You know, when our teams play your team, that would be great to have you come on.
Yeah, let's
and
get you back
discuss
on
it.
here again, and we'll talk about that because there's so many good stories to say. I mean, to talk about. Sorry.
Yeah, this league is already just a total shit show, and it's so wild. It's so much fun.
Cool.
Hey, Jeremy, real quick,
Yes.
you got a trade alert in your email inbox.
Oh, you
Really?
sent me a trade offer?
I'm trying to trade you next year's #1 quarterback, Justin Herbert or Herbert.
Herbert, you're throwing me off. Yeah.
I don't know if Herbert, he maybe be Bobby Joe's cousin.
You went for
I'm
the
American,
French.
I guess.
You went for the French pronunciation.
Yeah, I
I
just
gotta say
assume.
Herbert.
I assume he's French Creole.
Yeah,
I've never
Graham.
listened to him speak.
Graham, the problem with this is these two never make a trade happen, and now they're going to try to do one on air. This show's now become a 3-hour show.
Let's just do this. Let's just transition this into our Patreon show and see if Graham wants to stick around or if he has to leave, because this would be perfect for that.
Hey, that's a good cliffhanger. Graham, can you stick around for a few minutes while we do the Patreon show?
I unfortunately do have to run. It's about 7 o'clock here on the Pacific Coast. I'm so sorry. But
No
thank
worries.
you so much for having me on. This has been a blast. Like, it's been fun just coming here and just chop it up and have some laughs.
We
with you guys.
appreciate you. man.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
Graham, for
appreciate
coming
you
on.
guys.
And we really appreciate you. And we'll talk to you during the season when we play each other.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
we'll
man.
have you back on the same show as Scott Barrett. We'll get something going that's kind of fun. We'll jaw about the league.
I would love that. Thank you guys again. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Yeah,
you too.
just take
Bye.
care, buddy.
I'm about to
We'll
call
see
him
you.
Scott.
Bye.
Thanks. Christ, how old am I?
So that's
See you,
great.
Clayton.
Now that Graham had to rush out of here, we should hold that to the Patreon show. So why don't we wrap this up and then we'll go do the Patreon show. So, thanks for listening, everybody. Go check out our iTunes account and give us a rate and
iTunes
review.
account.
Yeah, I just kind of blanked out because everything happened so quickly right there. Go check out our.
What you need to do.
Yes.
What you need to do. Obviously, go rate and review. We might actually be at 100. I don't know when the last time when you two checked. The last time I checked, we were right around 98. And remember, when we hit 100, we're going to randomly pick someone, but it's probably going to be a patron. Just saying. And they're going to get a T-shirt, any T-shirt they want out of our store. There's really cool ones. Dynasty Trash Trade Offers, hashtag. I said that backwards, but there's a hashtag in front. Dynasty Trash Trade Offers. There's the Trade Alert T-shirts, whatever T-shirt they want, they're going to get it.
Any color too, any color or text. Just let us know. We can
Except for white.
make it. Yeah.
Yeah, not white gets too dirty, guys. I don't want you to get a shirt and then get it ruined. You know what I mean?
But I mean, whatever they want. We can,
Yeah, whatever they want. Yeah, so it'll be once we hit that 100 mark, we'll finally get around to announcing it on the next show.
I do want to say something. Wait, before you finish, I just wanted to let you know we did get a new review this past weekend, and it kind of wraps a couple different things into one review. It's
Nikhil Harry.
No. Actually, I see the Nikhil Harry one. That was last week. But this one wraps up what we're talking about right now and what Shane was just about to talk about is it says Great Dynasty Pod. It's from Hans Gruber Hit It is what it says.
Hans Gruber.
But it says definitely a must listen every week. Hilarious and informative. And their Patreon is lit. Definitely worth subscribing. So, Shane, why don't you tell everybody about our Patreon?
I don't, I make sure we take care of our patrons. You guys make sure we take care of our patrons. Our patrons get an episode a week, every week. They get that episode first, the uncensored one. They get their own bonus podcast episode every week. I make sure that we're in that group me chat. You guys are in that group me chat all the time.
That group me chat is insane.
It is, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just good times. So, look at it. There's a couple different tiers. If you just want to come hang out, talk trades and things like that, join that $1 tier, jump in that group me chat. It's well worth it. You want additional stuff like the Uncensored podcast and the bonus podcast, the tiers are a little higher, but trust me, it's well worth it. We're making sure you get your bang for your buck. We want to bang you. So give us our bucks. You give us your bucks and we bang you. That's prostitution?
Yeah, that's not right.
All right. So yeah, we're going to jump to our patron episode now. And me and Man we're going to do some things.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if they can pull off a trade. So thanks for listening, and check out our Twitter account at DynastyTradesHQ. Check out our website.
Peace out, bros.
Check out the website at DynastyFootballFactory.com.
I thought we were vibing.
Oh my God. All right, good night. Thanks for listening. Bye, guys.
Yeah.